Hello everyone and welcome to, I think, the 21st. God damn it, we're back to not knowing which episode it is again. Today we are, I think it's the first time two of you have been captured and are in such a dire position. So, we're going to be resolving this. Does everybody remember approximately like where we were, or does anybody want me to do a quick recap?
We ended when we got kidnapped, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
It's been on my mind a while.
Okay, so you were trying to track down Michael Weiss as he, ever since his escape from the prison up in Russia, and you have been able to track him all the way to Hawaii, where in an attempt to find both him and where your friend Eric Douglas, where you have come across, you went to the hospital. At least Oliver and Philip went to the hospital, while Kawa, Belzebiel, and Chris were at the beach enjoying themselves. So, all right, real quick. Technically, at the end of the last game, I forgot, but I should have made you both make an endurance check to see if the chloroform was knocking you out or not. So we can just, if you don't have like a lot of points in endurance, it's in Taurus middle column. We can just say that your characters are unconscious, but if you really want to see if your characters would be able to make it out, we can make some endurance checks before we move to Chris. Let's see who...
I mean, I've got a 0, so
okay.
Pretty sure Oliver's unconscious. There's very little chance of him succeeding at that.
And Philip has a 4. Do you want to try your luck?
Give it a shot.
Just to see if like... Nope. Unfortunately, you are unconscious, which means we move to Jeff. Chris, you, Kawa, and Belzebiel are. What are you doing? What are your characters doing while waiting for this? For your friends to come back from the hospital on their scouting mission.
Well, I imagine that if the beach is very, very busy, I'm probably playing volleyball. And I couldn't really speak for what the other two are doing. But at any rate, we're not all sitting and facing in one direction, giving you 180 degrees from which you could do anything you want without us being aware. We are definitely situated in such a way that we are each observing the other, so that we will see anything going on, because we do expect that there may be some people here that are looking to trick us or jump us or otherwise find us, and we are wanted, of course. So
okay, let's have a look at how well you're doing at volleyball. Can you roll athleticism for us to show your moves? Yeah, Chris is crushing the competition, and gathering you if you wanted to, you could attract attention to your skills, or you can downplay them a little bit to keep on the down low. Kawa is being rather discreet. He fits right in. He fits right in here. Belzebiel is very busy, churning the 13th ice cream that you've seen him get from the stand, and he has this weird habit of combining the weirdest flavors. And trying to combine as many tastes on his taste buds as possible. Yeah, and it's starting to be a while. It's been a while since Philip and Oliver have been gone, and yeah, like Kawa comes to see you while you're taking a break from your game and says, "I'm a bit worried that the others aren't back yet."
Well, what happened when you called them?
Do Philip and Oliver, do you have cell phones?
We
Don't
threw
think-
ours in the ocean.
Yeah, I don't think Oliver's picked another one up yet.
Yeah. Okay. So
It's funny. I seem to recall something about at the session where we found out that we were wanted when we left. That we changed out our phones for like the prepaid ones that aren't traceable or identifiable to us.
Oliver took his, snapped it in half, took out the SIM card and the battery, and then threw it in the ocean. I don't know if he picked up another one.
I remember that part. We can say that you picked up some new ones, in which case Cal would say they're not answering. So we might be.
Is it going straight to voicemail, or is it ringing and then going to voicemail?
It's
like, do they have them turned off, or they're just not answering?
Yeah, it's so I think Oliver would have turned his going into his stealth mission, so his would still be off, and Phillips would have rung the first time Kawa called, then gone to voicemail, and then been turned off.
Oh, that's probably not good. And how long have they been gone?
They've been gone 2 hours and a half now. They should. It's around the time when they should be. They should have returned, if everything went well.
We should probably go back and check on them.
All right. Cal hurries to where Beelzebub is starting to sprinkle a little bit of sand on his ice cream to spice it up, and they both come back. They both come back, and yeah, they basically ask you. Should we just go to the hospital and try to track them from there, or try to find another, or is that too dangerous in your opinion?
Well, Beelzebub doesn't have a warrant out for his arrest, right?
Correct.
So my thought is we should go grab a taxi to the area, let him get out and go in and see what's going on there while the other two of us remain in the taxi waiting.
Okay. Yeah. So you drive by where the hospital is, and you see a police car. And you drop Beelzebub there. You keep going. It seems like the members of the police are interrogating people about something that's happened at the corner of the hospital. And Beelzebub is going to come back to you like a few minutes later, saying, apparently a couple of people got kidnapped straight in the middle of the streets in broad daylight. Their descriptions match Philip and possibly Oliver. He might have been disguised. And you hear Kawa say, "I should have gone instead. Nobody ever notices the janitor."
Well, I'm just wondering how they could have gotten captured in broad daylight. That's awful. Well, do we have any idea who or where they might be?
There's the other address that they are that we were supposed to there's the address that we know that Philip got from his dream. That's where in the dream the person claiming to be Michael Weiss said that he was being held prisoner.
Right. Well, I mean, I suppose we could go check that address out, but
there's also the observatory. Most likely, more likely than not, that they got captured by Hermes.
do you think you could sneak back into the observatory unnoticed and check it out? Or would
Yes.
they spot you and notice you?
I could do that, yes. Even after like when I saved you the last time we went there, I had already been fired and managed to sneak my way in unnoticed. They're even if they put in some extra security, that's what I'm good at.
All right, maybe we try that out, see what you can find out there, what's going on.
All right. He pauses for a second and he says, "Can you ask Allison if she comes to your memory palace or oh, you can go to Stefan's memory palace. Can you ask him to check on Philip and because Stefan can access Philip's memory palace and check what he's doing. That could be a direct thing. And if you see Allison, can you ask her if this is a case where we would need to use the plan of no return."
Yep.
Okay. So Beelzebub says, Beelzebub is going to drive you to the observatory while Kawa is putting on his suit and in the car. Like that's when he asks you to use your memory palace to contact Stefan. Do you do that?
Yes.
Okay. So you start to meditate. You end up in Stefan's memory palace, and he's as Steph mentioned when we talked to him a few minutes ago. He's probably in one of his memories at the moment with his wife. You see no trace of him in his memory palace, but you do know which flower is supposed to be the gateway into Philip's memory palace. And Philip, what was the last memory that you stored? The last important thing that happened that you said, all right, I'm going to make this into a memory that I can revisit in my memory palace.
I would probably have stored maybe like one of our encounters in Nowhere, Texas.
Okay.
But not anything with the bathtub lab.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want your memories to start blowing up from the inside.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chris, there are very few new memories, and when you arrive there, it seems like Philip is absent from his memory palace, and when you call him Philip, you wake up. You are in your hands are tied. There's a bag over your head, and there's Chris's voice in your head talking inside of your memory palace, and you have a severe headache. What do you do?
Can I access my memory palace?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go in and just go. Yeah, do I just like appear in front of him?
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just appear and just go, holy shit.
What happened? Did you get captured?
Yeah, not Max, Oliver and I, I don't know where we are. I mean, I have a good guess about who took us. Probably some Hermes. But we'd finished at the hospital and we were leaving and they ambushed us. They knew that we were there.
Probably just watching the hospital, you think?
It's very possible. I'd believe it.
Well, where
It was
are
a
you?
risky move. Last I saw, we were just thrown into a van on such and such street.
That's why you saw the kidnapping, Chris.
Okay.
But
Well,
I
that's
don't know
why
where I am now. I can't see anything. I don't know where I am. They could have taken us anywhere.
What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell?
Okay.
What do I hear? What do I smell?
You hear you hear a couple of voices, but it seems like they're coming from a nearby room. You hear.
Does it feel like we're moving at all? Does it feel like we're in a steady building at this point?
Steady building. Yeah, it's a steady building with definitely multiple rooms. You can. It seems to be like soundproofed slightly, but you can vaguely hear the sound of traffic outside, which is not something that you heard. Which is not something that is very common at the observatory. In
Okay.
Hawaii, you are also hearing Eric's voice coming from the same room, and pronouncing some incoherent mumbling, and his voice is distorted as if there's something in his mouth or that's not quite right, like possibly missing teeth or swollen lips or things like this.
And does the ground beneath me, can I tell, is it like tile or wood or carpet?
Because it's flat, it's probably just floorboards.
Okay. I'll relay all of this to Chris.
So you're probably not at the observatory. Maybe at the other address they tried to get us to go to.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. I doubt, yeah, there's no way this is the observatory. And it's obviously not somewhere super secluded, so... Can I smell anything in the air, like any kind of like chemical-y smell or anything that might kind of give a hint as to like what kind of a building I'm in?
Roll for vigilance.
Okay.
And I'm giving you a +3 because that was a good idea.
Okay. Hell yeah.
You smell something soapy. It takes you a second to realize that it's the smell of laundry detergent, and you remember that the address that you were being lured to, or like that was given to you by Michael, by the person pretending to be Michael Weiss in your dreams, was had on the
laundromat.
A laundromat on the ground floor.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're at the address. I smell detergents. I mean, it could just be somebody's house, but I think it's pretty likely that you're correct and that they took us to the address.
All right. We're going to try to check that out as well.
All right.
So you may hear a commotion. What I'm going to do is, if we have the opportunity, I'm going to yell out 7 a couple of times. So this way, if we're not able to actually get to you, I will visit you again and see if I can, if you heard me yelling out 7.
Smart. That's a great plan.
Right. So Alison enters your memory palace through the same path that Chris did, and she looks. She says, "Is everything okay?" I tried to go into Oliver's memory palace, but he's not responding.
I think he's unconscious. Still, we we got kidnapped.
Oh. She pauses for a second. She says, "Philip, how much
Hold on just a second. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, she asks you, Philip, how likely is it that you're? How much danger are you in? Do you is this or do you think there's a chance you could die?
I mean, always. They seemed fully prepared to take us. They were ready with chloroform and things to bind us and keep us from knowing where we are. If they're not planning to kill us, they're planning to do something horrendous nonetheless.
I think you might be bait for the rest of the team. She turns to Chris and she says, "Chris, do you have Kawa on hand?"
He's investigating the observatory.
Can you please tell him that it's time to activate the plan of no return?
Yes, he actually was curious to know if this was time or not.
I think so, yes. And Philip, next to you, you hear a groan as Oliver is starting to emerge from his slumber.
I think Oliver's coming back. Do you need anything else from me, Chris, or should I go and see how he's doing?
You should check on him, and I'll find out more about the this plan of no return.
All right. Thank you so much. Good luck.
See you soon, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Right. Oliver, you're waking up. Your mouth is pasty. You're a bit woozy, and your head hurts. What do you do?
Groan a little more and look around.
Okay. There's a bag over your heads, but you're able to see that there's light coming through. You seem to be in a windowless room, and the only source of light is a light bulb above you. Yeah, you can feel something that's warm and moving next to you.
Try to listen, see if there's anyone other than the warm moving thing next to me.
There's on the other side. There's the mumbling voice of Eric Douglas, and roll for vigilance.
Oh, I'm fantastic at that.
No.
And that's all you're getting.
All right. Well, judging as there's I assume we're cuffed or bound or something?
Your hands are tied behind your back by what seems to be rope.
I will start feeling out the knot in order to figure out how to untie it.
Okay, yeah, you do have a lot of points in intrusion, so that's good. Okay, you start to feel the knot, and you hear a noise like a chair creaking coming from right in front of you, and you feel a sharp pain as something hard bumps against your head, and you take 1 point of damage.
Do I hear the impact?
Yeah. There's a definite ouch coming from Oliver.
I whisper, Oliver.
I'll whisper back, ow.
No talking, and if you try anything fishy, your friend gets it.
What friend?
You hear a similar thud coming from next to you, and Eric's voice groans in pain.
Oh, that friend. You know, if you kill him, he's not a very good bargaining chip, right?
No talking.
Or you'll kill him and remove your bargaining chip.
You feel something grab your bag and pull your head backwards, and the voice is now coming from a bit closer to you, and it says, "Go ahead, talk one more time."
Oh, now you're gonna kill me and just remove the entire problem?
There is there's the sound of a sword being unsheathed, and you do you do anything?
You're not very intelligent, are you?
Okay. You hear a whooshing noise, the sound of something being slashed, and something round and heavy falling to the floor and rolling. And you also can both feel that you're now inside of a halo. A halo is what happens when someone who has more light karma than darkness karma dies.
Oh my god!
It means it's a halo of 2, which means you need to for that any power that you want to activate with darkness karma, you have to spend 2 extra points of darkness karma before you spend 1 to activate it. And you hear no more sounds coming from Eric.
Wow, you really are that stupid. What is to stop me from talking now?
You're next. Philip, what do you do?
What the hell do you want?
Probably nothing. He's not very smart.
Are you just some lackey?
There's you hear the voice saying, "Now, if you want to keep talking, I can keep chopping heads. It's not going to change whether or not your friends come up. Or you could both shut the fuck up."
Yeah, but if you cut off our head, what was the point of kidnapping us? See, this is why you're not very smart. You can't. Okay. You're gonna bind someone up and kidnap them. You can't threaten them with death after, because you obviously want something from them. And judging by the fact you want to kill us, you don't actually want something from us, so there's not much point in keeping us alive. And if you did want to keep us alive, you threatening to kill us is just an empty threat. See what this is? How you're not very smart?
There's you hear you hear the door opening, and the guards asks to people who are outside, any sign of the other ones yet? They're starting to piss me off. And you hear that no, there's no sign of anybody else. The others aren't
I'm going to go
approaching.
into Theo's memory palace and notify, I guess, Chris, if he's still there, that there is at least 2 outside our door and 1 in our room.
Okay. You also hear a TV playing in the other room, which grows louder when the door is opened. So Chris, I think Chris, are you still there, or have you already gone back to the car?
He could. I mean, I'm guessing this happens fast, so yeah, he could probably catch me there.
Okay.
I'll also relay that someone's watching TV in the other room, so
Might mean that we're close to an office.
Close to an office, and they might be distracted momentarily if someone were to enter the room. Just giving Chris as much information as possible.
So I'm going to. Can I reference for thematic purposes a movie that hasn't come out yet and a scene from it?
Sure. I mean, out of game, sure.
So have you've seen Waterworld? Yes.
No.
The movie Waterworld?
No.
Max?
Mm-mm.
Have I?
It's the one where they have
with
fins
Kevin
to the side and.
Nope.
Okay. Feel?
Really? So they capture the girl. They capture the girl to make his character show up, and she starts telling them, "You're in trouble. When he finds out, he's going to come and get you, and he's going to kill all of you. He can move quietly. He can swim faster than a dolphin. He's as quiet as a shadow. He kills people just by looking at him. He'll kill everyone on the." And she just goes off with these ridiculous tales and starts really creeping them out because they have seen him do some awesome things, and she just totally hams it up about him being like this supernatural level of devastating, you know?
I mean,
Which
you are the supernatural.
But it makes it all the more creepy because when he does catch up to them, that the ones that have her, he actually begins just slaughtering them all. So, yeah. So, play that game with them if you wish.
Yeah. So, in Philip's memory palace, I'll say, Philip, you wanna do some psychological torture on them to get back on
Oh, hell
more
yes.
even terms, since that last setback.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes to give them a little bit of fear.
Okay. So yeah, you. Okay. Before we do that, Chris, when you return to the car, what do you do?
Actually, before Chris leaves, I'm going to say, check back in before you enter the place. We might have some more information for you.
Gotcha. All right.
All right. So Chris, you return to the car. What do you do?
Well, they may be being held at the original place we went to, so I think we're going to need to head there, and we do need to reconnect with. I can never remember his name.
Alakiko?
Kawa?
Kawa.
Yeah. He's in the modern day Hawaii folder. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kawa is like driving. Wait, no, he's next to you.
Oh, I thought he had gotten ready to go sneak into the.
Yeah, you were driving up there, and he was putting on his uniform.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so Allison says it's time for the final plan.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this. All right. He takes out a phone and he starts making calls. And he like basically he's just calling people and telling them, "Hey, the thing I sent you, open it now." And he does this for 10 times, and then he just. Oh wait, no. And actually, no, never mind. He asks what's his name? Beelzebub to turn around and head back towards the city, but he gives a precise address. And once he gets there, he's just going to rush into a building and do some and like just do something. But it's not like the building that you're supposed to be heading to. Okay.
But on the way there, before he runs out and goes into the building, so you think that I should know something about what this plan is, so I'm ready for whatever is going to happen?
Sure. He like while you're driving, he says, "Sure." As it's suggested, it's the it's a last ditch effort in case something really bad happens and the entire team is compromised. If that happens, I've been compiling a lot of information for Addison on everything that I know, and I'm ready to use that information in order to guarantee the team's safety. But it can only be done once, and it's going to have a lot of consequences, a lot of unpredictable consequences, including my face being everywhere.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, Philip and Oliver, you hear another set of footsteps coming back in, and sitting on the chair in front of you, but the chair does a whole lot more creaking for this time, and there's a deep voice, and it's Oliver. It's one of the Anubis that was under your command while you were directing the security teams in Hawaii. What is this person's name?
Steven.
Okay, Steven. God damn it! I can't do this interrogation scene seriously. I'm going to be seeing Steven Universe do the interrogation.
Well, that's why you don't ask me to come up with names. They're always terrible.
Yeah. So Steven just says, "Well, we got you. I didn't think you were going to be so foolish as to just stroll into the hospital where your friend was supposed to be, but thank you for making things easy for us, Oliver. I'm next in line to get your place now that I've taken care of capturing you. I really appreciate you."
You mean I haven't already been replaced? The Hermes are weird.
And it's been a couple of weeks. Yeah, I think he's gonna say, this will cement my promotion as the jackal, thanks to this. Now, of course, I know there's a couple of secrets that are only passed down from master to student, but given enough time, I can extract all of those from you, and of course, get all of the information from your memory palaces to know where all of your Neo Hermes friends are.
You do know who's coming for us, right? You heard about the the utter clusterfuck that happened in Caesar's verse.
There's a pause, and he says, "Your security person and your strongest warrior is right here. I could decapitate him right now if I wanted
to. How did you capture him? Where did you capture him?
He's referring to Philip, basically.
Oh. Oh, so you haven't heard what happened in Caesar's verse. I mean,
tell me everything.
Philip was good, but he only... Actually, Philip, did you kill anyone in there? I think it was all our last member, wasn't it? Like,
I
10
think
people?
you're right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Stefan, you killed Stefan.
Simon! Simon! Yes, but we don't talk about that one.
He killed like 10 people, and including what was his name? Crimson. Yeah, that guy was terrifying. I saw him rip apart what is that zombie one called? The
living.
I saw Crimson rip apart a living, and geez, our last member just took him down in, I don't know, I think it was like 4 seconds. You really think the 4 of you here are going to be enough to stop him?
Even when he's not being lethal, he is a force to be reckoned with. Did you see him on the way into battle, how he was constantly disarming people and rendering them prone?
Oh yeah, and just like choking them out. It was terrifying. Once again, like the 4 of you, you're all going to die.
Yeah.
It's
cute how you think you stand a chance.
Okay, so you, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to be intimidating, and you could give them all penalties to either their actions or their reactions if you successfully roll for intimidation, which is leadership. Now, I know Philip has a few points in there.
So do I.
Okay.
And I wasn't entirely trying to be intimidating. I was also trying to get him to reveal how many people are actually in the building.
That's
why I kept saying 4.
Yeah, that's. I thought that's what you were trying to do, and that's why I didn't answer them at all because because I didn't want to be like, there's more of us than or anything of the sort. So I got your bluff. Now, both of you can roll intimidate, and every 3 points that you get above 12 is going to be an extra person that you're convincing, that will get penalties to act or react. Okay.
Take the darkness.
All right. Oh. Okay. So that's so both of you are basically, you've got 12, 15, yeah. Both of you are able to convince 2 people to be... both of you managed to intimidate 2 people, which means they'll have -3 to their first action against... Chris, or -3 against their for their first reaction against Chris, because they are intimidated. But they also, but Steven is going to be like taking notes, and once he's done, he's gonna go to the others and say and mention that we're probably up against somebody who's going to be trying to choke us. So get yourself protections against choking. Somebody who's good at martial arts. So make sure you keep a distance from him and stuff like this. And yeah, and a little bit of time after that, you're going to hear. You're going to have a bit more back and forth with Stephen, and at some point somebody comes into the room and tells Stephen, you'd better come and see this. And
is this a different voice that we heard?
It's the person who did something to Eric. That's this person's voice. And the door closes, and it feels like you are alone in the room. But something weird happening. The TV in the other room, it seems to be playing a voice that you recognize. It seems to be playing Kawa's voice.
What?
I will get myself and Philip out of these knots as quick as possible. Or at least loosen them so we can get out whenever we need to.
Are you trying to hurry? You can have the time necessary for an action by taking the hurry prime.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. And what penalty do you take in exchange?
Let's go with risk, and the risk will be I actually tie them better.
Okay, I'm fine with that. So go ahead and roll intrusion.
It's nice not being able to fail an intrusion roll.
Wow, that's okay. Yeah, you're freeing both of you up. While you're concentrated on this, Philip, here's what you hear Kawa saying. You can't imagine how long I've been waiting to do this. All right, here goes. The world, as you know it, is not as it seems. I'm here today to prove this to everyone by showing indisputable proof of the supernatural. You see Kawa getting hold of a gun and placing it against his forearm before firing into it. He then curses and bites into his arm with his golden enchanted tooth and makes the wound disappear in front of the camera. He says, "My name is Kawa Kiko, and I am part of a secret society that tries to reveal as many occult secrets to the public as possible. I have sent this video to multiple news stations, and I will be revealing as much information about the occult as I can within the next hour. But before I begin, I must make a demand from one of the occult factions. This message goes to the Hermes currently holding my friends prisoner on 41st Street of Honolulu. You have 1 hour to release all of my friends alive and well, or I will release a second video that details precisely how to create the alchemical secrets that your organization has been trying to keep a secret for millennia. If my friends aren't out and safe in 1 hour, your bosses are going to be really mad at you." And then he starts to talk about the living and the devoured, and he starts to reveal occult information and in correspondence with historical things that you have checked in the verses you visited. And it's been broadcasted.
Damn.
So, Chris, Kawa told you this was the plan. And he had the means of activating it very quickly once he filmed the first passage where he made the demand specifically to the Hermes, and to send it to the news station in which he has contacts. Once you knew that this was the plan of no return. It's not entirely certain that this will be enough to convince them to release Philip and Oliver. So, what do you take extra steps to complete this plan?
Yes. Well, I would like to go and try and go to the soap factory and see if I can find them there.
Okay. All right. So you find the building. It's in a semi-busy street. There's about 3 cars a minute that drive through there. And there's a couple of pedestrians too. It's not one of the main roads. And there's the laundromat and there's the stair above it that seems to be completely like all of the shades are closed and you have trouble seeing what's inside. But before the broadcast starts, you're able to get there and what do you do?
I take a moment and focus, and I think back on all of the incredibly stealthy and intrusive things that I've seen Oliver and others do, and channel my experience points into being spent on increasing those before I go inside.
Nice.
Okay.
So I haven't spent any XP. So looking at my sheet here, I think I've got 24 points unspent.
So let me have a look. Yep, it would appear 24. Yes.
All right. So what does it cost to raise stealth or intrusion?
Every skill, when you raise the base is next level divided by 2. So if you're raising your skill from 2 to 4, it's 4 points. From 4 to 6, it's 6 points. From 6 to 8, it's 8 points. From 8 to 10, it's 10 points, and so on. So the more you raise it, the more expensive it becomes.
Okay.
So if you wanted to roll to raise your stealth from 0 to 10, it would cost you something like 20, 30, which would be 6 and 4.
No. I want to put 12 XP into stealth and 12 XP into intrusion.
Okay. So that will give you 2, 4, 6. That will give you a base of 6 in both stealth and intrusion.
Okay.
And you spent you wanted to put.
I spent all the points I had.
Yes, 24 points. Yes, that is correct. Okay. So you now have a stealth and an intrusion of 8 in total.
Good. Off I go.
All right. So go ahead and roll for intrusion. And because the security is very tight in that place at the moment, it's a roll at -3. Do you take any primes and penalties?
Into Philip's place first, like we agreed.
Yeah. Well, first I would like to do a vigilance to take a scope around it before I try and actually cross their threshold into the area that they're protecting.
Okay.
To try and get an idea of any people or activity I might see, or motion or sounds I might hear, or cameras that I might see, because the only way a camera can actually work is if it can see me. And if it can see me, then I can see it. It might be hard, but it's possible. So that's what I'm trying to do first.
Roll for vigilance.
And for that, I will also take my time. So can I get the +3 to vigilance and take the time penalty?
Yes.
All right. So it's just a 3, not a +3.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, 25. Nice. So yeah, you take your time to scope out the place, to go around it, and yeah, there. It seems like if this is a trap, that it's been made to look as innocuous as possible from the outside. So there doesn't seem to be any security measures that you can tell observing from the outside that are visible like cameras. But you do see a lot of movement behind the shades of the second floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will. And Beelzebub is still in the car, right?
Yes. Beelzebub drove you here, and he likes to live dangerously with his driving, but the car is still working.
Okay. So I will slip back to the car
Mhm.
and tell him, give me about 5 minutes,
Okay.
and then I want you to beep the horn 7 times.
Will do, boss.
And then I try to slip into Philip's memory palace.
Okay. From inside the car. Okay. So Philip, you yeah the
I should specify that when I do this, I will lay down on the floor of the car so someone passing by and looking in may not see me, or if they do, they may not recognize me. I don't want to just sit there and, fall asleep sitting up in the back seat where I can be easily seen and spotted.
Okay. So yeah, Philip, you what's happening to you is that like you're starting to hear Kawa's voice, and Oliver is untying your bonds, and then there's on top of that Chris's voice in your head. What you do?
I whisper to Oliver, I say, Chris is here. I'm going to go into my memory palace.
Oliver will grunt because he's focusing very hard on untying a knot without being able to see it on himself and on you.
Valid. All right, so I'll go into my memory palace and let myself just kind of fall limp.
Okay.
And I'll go in and I'll approach Chris. Are you all right? Words, my God. How are things going?
So we're outside the factory, the laundry area. I think what we're going to do is Beelzebub's going to beep the horn 7 times. So tell me if you hear a horn beep 7 times. And if you do, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to give you a chance to hear it, unless you won't hear it while you're here, right?
I could ask Oliver if he heard it.
Well, we want him to be listening for it.
Yeah, true. Okay.
All right. So go back. Go back. We're going to do it. I'm going to pop back in. If you do hear it, we'll know that we're in the right place. They got a lot of cameras out there, so I'm going to go around, and I'm thinking I'm going to, unless you're in immediate danger, are you on any kind of time constraint right now?
No time constraint that I know of.
All right.
Yeah, I think they're just waiting for you to get here.
Oh, good. All right, so go back. After we beep the horn, I'll pop back in, see if you're there, and I've got an idea. I'm going to see if I can try and get a couple of people who might be willing to put their skills to the test as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll pop back in after we beep.
Sounds like a plan. I'll pop back out then.
And I go back out.
All right. Okay. We
give it like a minute, and then we do the 7 beeps.
Okay. Philip, you are able to hear the 7 beeps coming from the outside, confirming that Chris is in the right place.
Right.
Awesome.
When I hear that, I'm going to say before you go back in, you did remember to give Chris all the new information we got, right?
I will do that immediately.
Okay. what new information did you get?
That they're prepared for him to come in for close quarters, and that he should probably just beat the crap out of them and not go for chokes, because they're also prepared for that. Also, apologize to him for us revealing that information. It
Um,
Before I go back in, Koa is here, or is he not here?
Kawa was he was finishing his thing, and I think he he finds he heads towards where you are after he was done activating the plan, and you find him in the car next to you, trying to get into the car without stepping on you when you open your eyes.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, I'm wondering if you can. Do you know of a martial art teacher or dojo that is, shall we say, extremely serious? Like, not one that does it for trying to make money, but one that does it for the purity of the style and for its combat capabilities. Because I need to go make a plead for some true warriors to test their mettle against some very despicable characters.
He thinks for a second. He says, "I don't really have a lot of contacts in that domain, unfortunately." I think you were looking for people like this in Hawaii at some point.
Yes, and I do have the domain of martial arts, but I was just wondering if, as a local, he might particularly know of a studio that was focused more on, or at least not like. So some studios are look to get large amount of students because they want to have the revenue to be able to keep going, but they also, some of them also do have like a more private type of students that they take on, where they teach them like very realistic, very gritty versions of their. So that's what I was wondering, if he maybe knew of one of those, or if not, maybe I do. I don't know.
Kawa is just going to say, I'm not sure that involving civilians who can't regenerate at this point would be the best idea. Although, like, he looks around and you can see that there's. He didn't mention the number of districts. He just mentioned the name of the district in the video. And you can see that there's quite a few people who are coming here and just like looking around, as if expecting something to be happening, including a couple of camera crews for local newspapers. And he says, I don't know. Well, like they're starting to find him basically, and he says the new Hermes. What's your idea?
Going in unexpectedly, not just by myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to beep to notify them that we are. That we're here, to make sure to verify we're in the right place, and then I'm going to get in touch with, preferably if you can locate any dojo here that teaches kapu kuala, which is the ancient Hawaiian martial art using techniques such as bone breaking, joint locks, pressure points, things like that. So I'm going to go and talk to some people from that place.
And like Kawa, like there's a pause, and he says these guys have guns and magical powers. I'd be worried about involving civilians.
You can worry if you want to, but I'm not going to lie to them about what they might be facing. The thing is, some people want to test themselves. Some people are not afraid of testing themselves against something of that caliber because they look forward to surviving it.
Mm-hmm.
You can only test yourself so much when you're fighting people who are friendly and not trying to kill you.
Yep, gotcha. So that would usually be represented by your ability to call upon favors like this would usually be represented by your influence, which is you don't have a huge influence, but you could try to go and persuade people. I think Kawa can get you to a dojo, but that would require a leadership test at, I'm gonna say, a -9 penalty because of the whole they have magical powers and guns thing. But yeah, that's yeah. So so Kawa basically is going to lead you I think like six streets away from there, and to yeah. I don't know if it's exactly a dojo. It's not going to look exactly like a dojo. I don't know much about the Hawaiian martial art that you're referring to, but you're going to like find these people and try to persuade them. Do you take any primes and penalties?
Well, yeah. First, I'm going to go back in and confirm with Philip that the beeps were heard.
Yeah, I think that gets confirmed.
And I'll relay the information that Oliver reminded me of.
Okay. Which was that they were prepared for me to come and all that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's okay. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'll go to the dojo. I'll go inside.
Okay.
Still have the hat on and sunglasses.
All right.
Try and disguise myself a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot there was a wanted post of that you wanted, but yeah, it's not necessarily something every citizen would know. Right. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I think I don't know exactly how to play this scene, and I think the best way, because you don't have the resources to get help like this normally, I think I'm gonna ask you to make a -9 leadership test and to see if you manage to get some people on your side, like on such a short notice, and people who don't necessarily know you for a dangerous mission. But if you succeed, you will get help.
Well, at a -9 to leadership, that becomes a -7 to leadership. So that means even if I got a 12,
you'd need to roll a couple of 12s in a row. To do this. So it seems like, based on your skills, it's not something I think you could do the persuasion instead of leadership. That also works. Which technically, yeah, that should have been persuasion instead.
But so I'm not just trying to ask people to do something for me. I'm asking people who are so serious and devoted that this is the focal point of their lives. I'm providing them with an opportunity to test themselves and test their discipline in a situation that is so extreme that they may not actually survive. But if they do survive, it will be indeed a true testament to themselves and to their skill and to their ability. So I'm playing up to their inner, the nature of who they are. You know, people like this don't just train to be able to say they can do it. They train to know, and they train to a degree to be known. You know, that's part of the whole concept. So it's not like I'm just taking random people off the street and asking them to buy me a soda because I'm thirsty. You know, I'm offering people something they may never have an opportunity in their entire life to be able to do, and it's something that they are very specifically trained in, you know, being able to do. So, but I mean, if you want me to just roll, I'll just roll.
I think that like the type of people you're looking for, you'd need much more time to look for them or diverse recruit her, which allows you to find people much faster to help you. But like Kawa is going to know like a place where the martial art you mentioned is taught, but like most Hawaiians like I don't know if like if you'd be able to like find people who are not only like dedicated to war to the way of the warrior like this, and who you could convince to like join you after you've met them just like so on such a short notice. So go ahead and roll, and let's see if it works or not.
At -9?
Yeah. No. Okay, that's that does not work. You're unable to basically to convince them. In the meantime, Philip and Oliver, you hear the people next to you arguing, in the door next to you arguing, and Stephen comes back in. But you and you're just like sitting back down after like untying your arms. Your arms are free, even if but you made it look like they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Stephen says, "All right, you two, get up." They remove. Stephen is going to remove your both of your the bags of your head, and you are able to see. You realize that, and you're going to realize a couple of things. First, there's the decapitated body of Eric Douglas next to you. Second of all, there's another person in the room who seems to be a prisoner, who still has the bag over their heads in front of where you are, who hasn't made a move, made a noise since you came in, and you don't know who that is. And lastly, in the room from which the other voices were coming, you can see there is a lot of people with karma are present there, and they're armed, and they are confused. Like some of them are flipping through the channels, and they can see that Kawa's face is on a few of them. And Stephen is like has a short sword in his hand, and he says, "I'm gonna have to let you go."
I look him dead in the eye with a moment of like, is he being for real? And then I look over to the other person with the bag over their head, and I nod at them and I say, "Who the hell is that?"
That's not one of Kawa's friends.
Well, would it hurt to tell me who it is? I'm a curious bastard.
There's a like there's a pause, and he looks at the body of Eric Douglas and back at you, and he says, "All right, your friend on the TV. He said all of you should have to come back out alive, but I had already killed Mr. Douglas. So, if what do you say? We make a trade. You convince your friend not to reveal this information, and I give you." And he pulls a bag off, and you can see the very gaunt face of Michael Weiss, and he has and he has like something over his mouth to like stop him from speaking, and yeah, he seems emaciated and tired, but his eyes are like immediately start scanning both of you and taking in every detail. Oliver, what do you do? You're also present, and you're also without the bag over your head. Oliver?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'll say that's agreeable as long as my companion concurs.
I'm down with this.
And so Stephen says, you might be getting away with it this time, because our bosses don't want too much information leaking, but I'm not going to stop hunting you. And he moves to untie you, realizes that you're already untied, and he's just going to like shove you towards the outside. And without untying Michael, he's just going to drag him towards the exit. And as you're passing through the entire like top floor, you can see that there's rooms and rooms packed with Anubises. Like this trap is basically they were like, okay, they can take on 10 of us. Let's have like too many of us, and they push you out into the laundromat with Michael Weiss, and just slam the door behind you. What do you do?
Pick up Michael Weiss and start dragging him outside towards where I suppose we see the car.
Okay. You start to drag him outside, and as you're coming out into the street, you can see that there's more and more curious people just coming through the street, and including a couple of camera crews.
Can we see this before we actually exit the building?
Yes.
Right, I'm going to untie him then and take the thing out of his mouth, and then I'm going to say we just walk out of here normally. Nothing fancy about us. Just going to the laundromat.
Right. By the way, you can see Chris and Akawa and Belzebub in the car, and Michael says, "You two are disciples of the Astromancer, are you not?"
I'll let Philip answer that. I'm also going to see if there's any laundry for me to be carrying out. Okay.
Yes, there is laundry for you to be carrying out. That is a very good idea. So. Okay. Philip, what do you say to Michael?
Philip doesn't say anything. He just makes eye contact with him and gives him a dead stare.
you are you a disciple of Alison Melfi?
Nothing.
Okay. He says, I did not get the first unit of rewriters killed. There's not a lot of. They thought I did because I'm the only one who survived, but there's still other people who, but I wasn't the only one who kept existing, and that doesn't leave a lot of suspects. I know I didn't do it, and I'm going to get revenge for being imprisoned and for what happened to my friends.
Well, give it a hot second. We'll see how it plays out. Let's figure this out in the meantime. And I look over to Oliver and I say, "Are we ready?"
Oliver has some clothes. He'll pass some clothes to you two in like a laundry basket or something, and then I guess say yes. We are now. Act normal.
All right, let's get out of here.
Okay. So yeah, you start to walk towards the car, and Michael he's just going to say Alpha, and there's a flash of light, and a version of Michael made out of light appears next to him and says she could transform into a dove and fly with her sisters up to the sky. And Michael just jumps so high into the air, like he jumps like yeah.
Can
Yes.
I try and tackle him?
Yes. Now here's the thing: the rules are really weird. You have to roll mastery against him, and he has a +3. If you are engaged with him, if you want to try to stop him from jumping, so it's a mastery roll under Virgo.
Okay, just a straight roll.
Yes.
I'll take the darkness.
Okay. And I'll take to the skies. Yeah, basically, like in the middle of the street, he just makes this giant leap, and what are the details of how far this verse can take you? That's okay. It's not as high as I thought, but yeah, basically he basically he's going to like make a great stride and then into the street, and you see a couple of like the camera crews that start to film this basically, and he keeps running, and he's heading towards the mountain.
Fucking Christ.
Freaking idiot. Are the cameras pointed at us now? Because if they are, I'm walking elsewhere.
Most of the attention seemed to be on him, but there are a couple of people who are like, where did this guy come from, and who are looking in your general direction. Chris, you're in the car, and two of your friends walked out of that house safely. What do you do?
Okay, well, when we got back to the house, unless they came out right when we got back to the house, I would have gotten out of the house and been prepared to make my intrusion. So,
Okay.
but at any rate, I will. If they notice the car, I will. If not, I will gesture them over.
Mhm.
Do they appear injured?
They appear okay. I think Philip probably has a bruise on his head from where he got like.
That would be Oliver.
Oh, Oliver has a bruise. Unless.
And I assume we both have some blood on our shoes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we both look bloody, but we don't look injured. If that even makes sense.
Well, look at the two of you.
Hey.
Belzebub says, "Welcome back." Looks at your shoes and asks, "Are you going to finish those?"
You want to eat my boots? I say as I put the laundry basket down on the ground behind the car and get in.
I'm kidding.
We need to go to the mountain. We need to get Michael. Or do we? I don't know. That may be way too dangerous with everybody watching.
I mean, most of them are down here right now, so...
I don't know, man. This is so tricky.
Kawa is asking, "What's happening? Was that Michael? Why is he heading to the top of the mountain?"
I wish I knew. He said, I mean, he's obviously claiming that he's innocent, but there's no way to know just from that whether or not he's being truthful. And he wants... Shit, he said he wanted to extract revenge for all the time in captivity. Shit. We need to go after him.
And you hear Kawa saying, "That doesn't make any sense. Why would he there's no way that Allison is the culprit. Otherwise, why would she form a new group of rewriters after the first one got killed?"
Who else has a memory palace? Also, can I borrow someone's phone?
Hmm? Sorry?
And we should probably start driving.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Belzebub's going to be driving.
Oh boy.
Somebody Kawa gives you his
I
phone.
put my seatbelt on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
put on like 3 seatbelts.
I think it's a given. And what other than the phone, what was the other thing you mentioned, Oliver?
Who else has a memory palace from the original team?
Not Eric, I'll tell you that much.
I'm also going to mention that you should probably release the rest of the information that you said because they killed Eric.
Okay. Kawa says, "If I do nothing, it'll get released." So that's
Okay.
that's fine by me that they did after they did this to Eric. Okay. You also got a phone. So Oliver, what do you do?
I call the cops on the phone and tell them there are a whole bunch of heavily armed people in the upstairs of the laundromat on whatever street it was, and that they're responsible for kidnapping 2 people in front of the hospital. And I'll give them a best estimate of numbers and equipment and whatnot, and say you should probably hurry.
All right.
So they're also related to the broadcast that's been happening on TV.
So that's smart because, like, as an ex-Anubis, you know that they have a pull. That's like the Hermes have a pull on the police and that they can influence them. But since now this information is public, there's more of a chance that might not fly anymore. And yeah, you start to head towards the up Mauna Kea. You're driving up, and as you're driving up, you don't see any.
As soon as he finishes that phone call, I tell him, now start calling the media.
Yeah.
The what?
The media. Tell them where those criminals are held up, the ones that abducted somebody out on the street in the hospital.
Right.
Yeah,
Call all the news stations.
Yeah, so yeah, Oliver will just spend the drive making a whole bunch of calls, I guess.
All right. And like you can see in the meantime, Kawa is like, oh boy, I've just been waiting so long for that. All right, you reach the observatory, and as you're heading towards the observatory, there's a few cars that are heading down from it, and then like a lot of cars. And by the time you reach it, there's only about 10 cars still in the parking lot of the observatories, and like there's a few observatories next to each other, and it's unusual. There's probably been an evacuation order or something to get people to go down from the mountain. And yeah, you arrive there. You see the Gemini Observatory. There's nobody around. What do you do?
Look harder.
Yeah.
Roll for vigilance.
How long does the prime take?
It doubles the time that you would have to do a certain action. So when actions are timed, it consumes like more of your action. If you're like instead of like taking a minute to look around, it would take 2 minutes right now.
I will do that.
Okay, go ahead and roll vigilance.
Where is vigilance? I keep feeling like I see it, but I don't.
Sagittarius, first column towards the middle.
Ah, yes.
Oof.
Oh.
No.
Alright, well, Oliver is still just as useless at seeing stuff as he was before.
All right.
Can I try and make that roll?
Yes, sure. If you're also taking your time, those 2 minutes, you also get a +3 if you want it.
Okay, yeah. I'd be doing it at the same time as Oliver to not take up extra time.
Okay. All right. You're going to perceive 2 things. First of all, there's going to be like first of all, you hear like a sort of far off hysterical voice that's just yelling angrily from inside of the Gemini Observatory, and you recognize Selena Murray's voice having a meltdown. And there's also the sound of a car heading up the road towards the Gemini Observatory. Chris, what are you doing?
I'm in the car with them, waiting for the plan makers to point in a direction for something that needs to be beaten unconscious.
Who do you mean by plan makers?
Oh, Philip, Max.
Okay.
Oliver, rather.
So, what's the plan, everyone?
Do you two want to go into the observatory and see what's happening? I'll stay out here and see what this car is.
I don't mind doing that. I'm just wondering, in the observatory, there's really no one left there that we care for, right?
True.
I have no idea.
We can take that telescope away from them.
It'd be a bit of a challenge, but we could.
Well, we don't need to take the entire thing. We just need to take the critical parts.
True.
Yeah, if you go to the armory, it's on whatever floor and whatever corridor, you'll also find enough explosives to level what you leave.
Yeah,
hopefully I'll catch up to you before that, but...
The only problem with doing that is that then it does validate the accusations against us.
True.
Well, could be a small explosion.
I don't know, it might be better to just do some quiet fiddling with it, and that way it doesn't draw too much more attention to us than there already is.
I mean, what do you think is best?
After all of this plan to destroy the Jackal's home, I'm wondering if most of your plans don't involve explosives, like every time you're in the modern world.
I mean... He might.
So upset with your work life? Just destroy the building. Don't do that, actually.
The only reason
like,
why it does stuff like that is so that people can't find stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, it would draw a lot of attention. So there would be no... there would probably be no hard evidence, but it would be a show.
Alright, I suppose that's a good point.
So, the current plan is Philip, Chris, and Belzebub go in and take the place, and Kawa just is ready to drive away, and Oliver goes and see what the car is all about.
No, Oliver stays in the car, wait for it to come up. If it's an enemy car, he floors the car into the other car.
Okay, so you're in the driver's seat. Gotcha.
Or he'll actually break into a different car beside it.
Okay,
like
good.
One of the 10 cars left, preferably Selena Murray's.
That is so perfect. Yeah, go ahead. Selena Murray's car is definitely still in the parking lot. So go ahead and roll intrusion. You're trying to go fast because then you don't have a lot of time before the other car arrives. So you're at -3. If you take the penalty, or you could take risk.
No, I'll go -3.
Okay, yeah, you're able to break into the car quite quickly. Okay.
So I'm starting it, and I'm also going to say for may I never go astray on the path where there is no return.
All right. Are there any other verses that anybody wants to cast that could be useful in combat? Philip.
Sure.
I just mentioned this because you have Shadow, and it's really useful when it's been cast.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Yeah, sorry. I just gotten a swarm of messages, and I was making sure it wasn't anything super needing my attention.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I can definitely cast Shadow.
Okay. Do you want to read the text? It's the first pair of verses that you have.
Mm-hmm. Alexander approaches the horse, takes the reins, and turns its head towards the sun, for he has observed that 'tis frightened of its own shadow, which imitated all its movements.
Okay. So you, Chris. I don't. Chris, do you have any verses that you want to activate before you go in there, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. You make your way into the building, and in the main hub, you find Professor Selena Murray, accompanied by a couple of other researchers, your co-workers until recently, including Lisbeth, who's there, and they Selena is like as you enter, she turns around to you and says, "Oh, you've already ruined our secrets, and now you're coming for the equipment, aren't you? Well, we won't let you do. We won't let you destroy or capture anything. It's ours. We built it, and we will defend it to the last of us." And you see Lisbeth just raising her hands and saying, can I leave?" And she's not asking Selena, she's asking you.
I just give a quick little nod.
And as she's hurrying past you and thank you, Selena is like, "Traitor!" And you can see that the other 8 Herbies, they look very uncertain about the whole prospect of fighting. So what do you do, Chris?
I walk directly up to Selena.
Okay. Okay. I think as you start walking to her, she is she tells you, "No, another step, or I'll curse you." And you can see that the others are ready to cast verses as well if you attack, but you took a couple of steps. What do you do?
Next, we'll break in the order of casting.
Go ahead and roll for leadership, and you get a +6 for this because they have seen you. They were watching you operate in the Caesarverse, and they are scared. Ooh, light or darkness?
Darkness.
Okay. You have a couple of them who start to raise their hands, and then more and more until Selena is just yelling at everybody that they're traitors. And you keep walking towards her, and she turns back and flees. But she's not fleeing towards, she's fleeing deeper into the Gemini Observatory, while the others were simply leaving. What do you do?
I grow tired of your constant attempts on our life, your constant opposition. So I think we should give you a chance now to decide how this ends. That is, and I gesture, without taking my eyes off them, I do gesture back to Philip. Unless you have any objections, perhaps we can allow them to declare now whether they're done and will take no further action against us, or do we need to end this once and for all?
Selena needs to go down. The others, if they're leaving, we can let them go.
Right. Okay. You find Selena in her office, and she has this unsharpened but ornamental, like Hermes ceremonial blade in her hands, and she's holding it in front of her, and she says, "If you strike me down, I don't strike me down." Okay. We're going to take a short break, and Oliver, you are you see the car approaching, and you see that Michael is driving the car, and he seems to be very careful, and he seems to be like slightly like disoriented, not sure. Like he's looking at like the different observatories at the top of Mauna Kea, trying to look for something. What do you do?
I'll get out of the car and wave him over.
Okay. He drives towards you. He doesn't get out of the car, but through his window he says, "Listen to me. When they captured me, the Hermes said that they had been warned of the first cell of the writers by somebody casting the verse on her shore. I never learned this verse. I never learned any of Hell's verses. It wasn't me. I'm innocent." And when you think about it, there's only one person who could have betrayed the first three writers, and I'm going to kill them.
And that would be?
He stares at you and he says, I think it's quite obvious when you think about it.
I am thinking. I know who you're thinking of. I just want to make sure we're thinking of the same person.
Okay, we're going to cut here, so that I can. Can you send me in a private message on Skype, because I want to see if you figured it out before everybody else.
I mean.
No, not in the rewriters, in our private chat.
Yes, I know.
Okay, cool. And yeah, the other two, you're like basically just like outside of Selena's office, and like, what do you do?
Say that again one more time.
You're outside of Selena's office, and she's stuck in there. There's a window behind her, but she doesn't seem to be thinking about fleeing. So what do you do?
I draw my sword.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll approach her and say, you have one last chance to either make things right or decide that this is where you will fall.
She lowers her sword and she says, "What do you mean by make things right? You want me to beg? Do you want me to say that I don't think the Hermes are trying to lie to the gods by rewriting verses? What would you mean?"
I guess that was a little too hopeful, and I'll just go ahead and swing at her.
Oh. That's an interesting theory. That's an interesting theory, Oliver. Okay, roll for Theo. Can you roll for not brawl, but weaponry?
Weaponry?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, you Yeah, you strike her across the chest. She yells, and like you can see that her karma is like painfully trying to close the wound you just opened, and she is she drops her sword basically with the attack, and you can see she's starting to like cast a verse to try to defend herself.
Didn't you cast Shadow?
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh.
So that was actually she's unconscious because you have your because you did twice as wait no roll again with no modifiers, and because it technically happens as if you were doing 2 attacks.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So because you have the Ares aura on, she's unconscious.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah.
I look at Chris, I say, should we bring her to Oliver? Or should we just finish her off here?
Do we need her for anything?
Not that I can think of.
Then why not be safe and finish her off?
All right. I'll finish off Selena Murray.
Okay. To make sure that somebody's completely dead and won't regenerate their wounds, the best way is decapitation.
I'm going to decapitate Selena.
Okay. Right. Back outside, Michael finishes driving to the door, and he comes out of it, and you can see that you can see that he has a couple of like he has a sort of like weird vest on which he's duct taped a couple 2 bags of grayish powder, and he basically tells you don't come near me, Oliver. Well, no, he's just going to say to Oliver, but he doesn't know your name. He's just going to say, don't come near me.
Are you going to dump dust on me?
This is I manufacture those. This is explosive. If I detonate this, it's there's a chance you could be you and anybody who's near me could be caught in it. Even Trinities could die. I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to find the log of coordinates that you used to go to Allison's memory palace, and I'm going in.
Sure. I mean, don't be surprised if you meet the rest of my team in there. They're dealing with some of the less pleasant people at this observatory.
He says
Basically, just don't blow them up.
He nods. And there's actually a pause, and he says, you know your way around this place?
I did work here.
Can you, if you think that I'm doing this for the right reasons, will you help me?
If you can convince me.
Okay, so he, you can see Kawa is like shaking his head, and Beelzebub is like, yes. And Michael says there's only one person who could have cast this verse. Artemis, Allison's Archon, she was under strict orders. She couldn't ever act. She could only act to cast the verses that what's her name? Allison ordered at this precise moment that she wanted. But Apollo was given could manifest and cast a verse whenever they deemed it was for the greater good.
Interesting.
And I remember that there were a couple of times when Apollo manifested while the Scorpio the Scorpio aura was being used, and that's a moment when even a diva could cast a darkness verse like her shore and transmit a message. Apollo's the traitor.
When you were in the hangar before you all got killed, the day before you all got killed.
Yes.
Tell me everything that was said.
He starts to recount like the discussion that they had and the moment when the Scorpio aura was used, and he describes it exactly like you saw in the memory the first time you went in there, and describes how Apollo appeared. Of course, he seems to be struggling to remember some aspects of it, but he is certain about Apollo appearing and saying something under their breath. Something nobody else could hear. Something whispered.
Interesting. I will give him roundabout instructions to the telescope room.
Okay. And he asks for the coordinates to Allison's memory palace. To me,
I don't know.
Your character knows. Your character would know which galaxy is Allison's memory palace.
Once again, I don't know.
Okay. All right. And okay, so you give him directions, and he's gonna start heading off in that direction.
As soon as he starts heading off, I'm going to meditate, go into Philip's memory palace, and tell him to get to the viewing room by the quickest possible way, avoiding the path I sent Michael on, and then going to tell Philip to delete all the logs of how the telescope's been, or transfer all the logs of how the onto like a USB or something.
It's the year 2000, so might be a bit difficult to make that transfer as quickly as you're mentioning.
All right, then just delete it. We have the important coordinates.
Okay. So, did you send Michael on a roundabout path? Okay. So he's going to be hurrying up, and Philip, you're going to be hurrying up, which means you're both rolling athletics. But since he was sent along a devious path, he has a -6 on his athleticism, and you have no penalty. So go ahead and roll your athleticism, please. You get there first.
Hell yes.
Roll technology, please, to delete the everything.
The everything.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oof. Yeah. You start doing the procedure, and you're not exactly certain how to purge the system of every thing, and so you start manually deleting all of the coordinates that the telescope's that is on the telescope's record, and it takes you some time, and you see Michael White.
Newfangled technology is really confusing.
And you hear the you hear I gotta check. Did I plan in advance and write it down?
I would like to note that I am following after on a more direct route as well.
Okay.
Not hurrying, but I'll be there at some point.
All right. Yeah. So Michael reaches the vault doors and sees that Philip is on a console next to it, deleting stuff. He's going to ignore you and says, "He who believes in him, none may constrain, nor hound nor wolf. Neither hound nor wolf." And the vault door opens, and he steps inside. Oliver, you're behind him. Chris, you're present. What do you do?
Yes, just follow him in.
Okay.
Oh no, I'll stop and quickly brief them on what I've learned from him. Just that Mr. Weiss suspects that it was Apollo that betrayed them. And I think it would probably be a good idea to have a talk between Allison and Mr. Weiss, and we should probably be there for it.
I agree. That'll be interesting.
You hear Michael's voice coming from inside the vault, and he says, "You'd better hurry in if you want to be there." And you hear him pulling levers and charging up the telescope.
Exactly. How did you find out the coordinates?
He's basically from the inside. He's just looking through the coordinates that have been visited most that correspond to galaxies, and he's just going to go there one by one until he's in the right one.
If you stop doing that, we can just take you there.
He says, I don't even know your names.
That's because you haven't stayed with us long enough to ask them.
All right. He comes back out of the vault and he says, "I'm Michael Weiss. I'm a Neo-Hermes, and I was part of the first group of rewriters, and I've been imprisoned by the Neo-Hermes for a crime I did not commit."
We are aware the last part is to be determined.
I'll just look at him and I'll say, "I'm Philip, Katsuros, Neo-Hermes."
He looks you he looks both of you up and down, and he says, "So, which of you is the security person in the new group?"
Kind of all of us in one way or another.
Depends on the situation.
He says, "I want to say you're doing a poor job because of how far because of the fact that I got here, but I didn't really do a good job the last time. So, shall we?"
I'd like to point out that we haven't actually tried to stop you yet.
Pretty fair.
And you'll most likely want to make sure you keep it that way.
he takes the bags that he has like taped to him, and he puts them down outside of the vault.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Let's give it a go.
Mr. Weiss, you do have to promise that or that you won't attempt to get your revenge right off the bat. It would be good to discuss this first.
All right. I've waited all these years. I can wait a few more minutes.
I look over at Philip and say, shall we?
Might as well.
All right. So I'm sad because I wanted it to be more mysterious, and I wanted the big reveal of it was Apollo all along. That Michael is accusing to happen while you were already there. So I think it's a bit anticlimactic that's like revealed and wait. But I think it's I think this is good. Okay, so you activate the machine, and all four of your like spirits get dragged up into the sky, and you find yourselves in the on the lawn of the Lincoln University. That is Allison's memory palace, and neither she nor Apollo are anywhere to be seen, but there's still books all over the place. What do you do?
Well, they're not here. Well, they're not here.
Well, they're not in the garden, but there's the university is like a few buildings.
Yeah, I start walking towards the university and just calling their names.
Okay. So yeah, you call their names, and you see Allison coming out of there with Apollo, and as soon as she sees that Michael is with you, she looks horrified. Apollo, on the other hand, starts pointing at Michael, and I don't know what sort of Apollo is going to like start casting a protective verse or something. I think they say
I'm going to yell, Allison, stop him.
Them. Okay. So, sorry. Since you said him, Allison is going to assume you're talking about Michael.
Wait, I thought Apollo looked like a guy. Wasn't he always in a butler's outfit?
Apollo looks exactly like Allison, just in a butler's outfit, and they use they them pronouns.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah.
I would not have said him.
Okay, so you said them, and so Allison
and
I was pointing as well.
Okay, good. So yeah.
How far away are they from us at this point?
We're gonna say that they're about 10 meters by the time you reach that place.
So 30 feet.
Yeah. Allison just like I don't know. There are no silence verses, so like Allison tells Apollo stop, and wait, is that a darkness verse or is that a light verse? Yeah, and Apollo just does not stop, and they say, separated from Leah, the Chevalier lost half of his soul. And you can see that Michael like grunts, and like he seemed to be weakened by that verse. And Apollo is saying, "What are you doing, bringing this criminal here? Have you no consideration for Allison?"
Look, this is a complex situation. We're here to figure things out. This is hard for everybody, but we need to know the truth.
And you came in here with weapons. Don't you remember the rules we established the first time you came here?
Does anyone actually have weapons at this point? Other than... Actually, no, Chris doesn't carry weapons, and I assume Philip and I were disarmed.
Well, Philip had a sword earlier.
Yeah, and you did.
Yeah,
You mentioned you dropped you mentioned you didn't mention that you stopped having it, and I thought that you'd want to have it for with Michael around.
Oh, yeah, Philip absolutely still has his sword.
Okay.
All right.
He'll just say, look, we were in a hurry. It's how it turned out. We need to figure this out. We don't have time to quarrel over petty things like that.
Petty things? You humans just... Rules are there
Allison,
for a
control
reason.
your Archon.
Sorry?
Allison, control your Diva.
Okay. Addison just says, hold on, I want to hear what they have to say. And Apollo just... and she says, Apollo, stop, I want to hear what they say. And Apollo stops. There's a pause, and you can see Michael is just, looking at Allison with tears in his eyes, and Allison is just looking like she's dreading what's happening. What do you do?
Okay. So things right now are very confusing and complicated. Obviously, either way, Okay. Look, Apollo, we need to know. I don't even know how to. Allison, we have reason to believe that Apollo might have been behind certain aspects of what happened, if not all of it.
Michael says certain aspects. Apollo had the Hermes fray me and betrayed all of us and had the rest of the team killed. It's not
well, you
certain.
could just be saying that to save your own ass. We don't know that yet.
He says the Hermes, they were warned by someone who was using the verse her shore about what was happening, and I never learned that verse. But you and Apollo knew about it, and Apollo kept making what are they called? Apollo did appear a couple of times when to cast verses when the Scorpio breath was being used. I know that it couldn't have been you, Allison. I trust you with my life, but I know Apollo. But I don't trust Apollo. Apollo has always been a stickler for the rules, and let's be honest, rewriting history goes against the rules that the gods established. And there's a bit of a silence. Seconds.
Yeah.
Oliver and Chris, what are your characters doing? What are you doing?
I've continued to approach Allison and Apollo, and I only stop when I am within striking distance of Apollo.
Okay.
But ideally, I would also like to be within striking distance of Michael, because I'm sure one of them is about to get beaten.
Yeah. So if you kept moving forward, then Michael would have as well with you. And Philip and Oliver, do you also move closer?
Yeah, I don't move as close, but I move closer.
All right. Oliver?
I'll look around for a table.
Okay. There's a small table for like taking tea on in the middle of the garden area, but there's also the other room in which you first saw Alison die. That has a larger table that you can go and pick up where everybody could sit at.
Does the small table have 4 chairs?
No, there are only 2 around that table.
Okay, never mind then. I won't do anything. I'll just kind of move closer with them as well.
Okay. So yeah, Allison says he's obviously lying to try to get here and finish the job of killing the rewriters.
He could
You go
easily
ahead.
have killed all of us before entering here. He didn't.
Tell me, why don't you allow weapons here in your memory palace?
Because I hate.
Was that your choice or was that Apollo's?
That was their suggestion because they know that I hate violence. Apollo is just standing to the side and saying, "Can't believe you're even considering this. I'm your. Haven't I been helpful in training all of you?"
Can I empathy check him?
Yeah, you can roll for empathy to know what they're thinking.
Ha! I succeeded.
Yeah, that's good.
Nice.
They are. There's something about them that you're noticing now that you didn't notice before. Apollo is not. Apollo is not good at human emotions in the sense that when they have Allison's features, they don't seem to be very good at mimicking human emotions, and they're extremely like passive and unresponsive to this to the whole situations, at least emotionally, and much more distant than they've ever been in your company.
So they're difficult to read because they don't generally have the accompanying expressions that humans do.
Usually they do, and right now it seems like they're even more distant and alien. It feels a lot like you're talking to an unearthly being that has human features. A lot like when you talk to Beelzebub.
Interesting. Can I go into Philip's memory palace while I'm in Allison's memory palace?
Technically, yes.
Do I know what would happen if I did?
Huh?
Do I know what would happen if I did?
I don't believe you've tried it before, but I think you'd just be able to communicate with Philip. Oh, wait. You mean Allison?
No, Philip.
Yeah, Philip. Yeah, you'd be able to communicate with inside of Philip's mind.
All right, I'll relay that to Philip.
Okay.
And Philip, well, I guess.
So in social situations where you don't really have time to meditate, I have to ask you to make a meditation roll to just transmit information to somebody who's around. Because until now, every time you've gone into Memory Palace, you've had time to meditate. So go ahead and roll meditation. It's under Virgo, first column towards the top.
I am willing to stay out of this conversation for a while, too.
Okay.
Actually, no. Oliver doesn't want to miss this conversation. He'll just try meditating to get it. Nope.
Nope.
Oh.
Okay, so you have not transmitted that to.
Right. He will just keep that in his mind then.
Okay. Yeah. So. Allison says. It's. I'm sorry, but this whole situation is very confusing. My memories of Michael, all of the most of the memories that I have saved of Michael were destroyed by my Archon when the memory palace was created. So I can't be a good judge of character, but I know Apollo. I've had them with me since I finished my works, and they've always been very supportive.
But have they always been clear on their intentions? Have they always had good intentions? Have they been truthful and honest and clear in everything that they've done with you? Or are there things that they've suggested that might sound good, but you never dug for a reason why?
There's Apollo says Allison seems to think about it, and Apollo looks like outraged that you're asking this question. But Allison says you did have your. She turns to Apollo and she says you did have your doubts that we could do the rewritings at the very beginning, and Apollo says, I only wanted to make sure that I've only ever cared about making sure that the rules that you had that were established were what do you call respected, upheld. And
Oliver's going to butt in here and say, exactly what happened with your Archon?
Well, when a memory palace is formed while waiting for the host to appear, the Archon and the Diva have a small period of time when they construct everything and have access to the memories. And when I finally awoke here, some of my memories of Michael had been damaged by Artemis, and Apollo helped me track Artemis down. And when we found Artemis, she had she was clutching the last memory, the one that you visited that was still intact of Michael, and we took it from her and we locked her up inside of the boiler room for her treason.
Do you know why Artemis did that? I mean, from all accounts, you had her bound very tightly.
I believe it's because for the first time that she tasted freedom after my death, she decided to use it to hurt me.
And perhaps it would be good to ask her. Shall we bring her up? I mean, you'll have all of us here. We could quite easily subdue her again if it becomes necessary.
Apollo says no. Don't you remember? That's the third rule that we established. Nobody is ever to open the boiler room.
And whose idea was it to establish that rule?
Allison
or Apollo?
It was my idea to ensure Alison's safety. Now, you...
I say we visit the boiler room.
Allison is safe.
She has all of us.
She can't. Yeah. We can more than easily defend her if it should become necessary. You know this. You helped train us, as you said.
And Michael says there's no need. That's the memories that I was the memories that I was in, where like he starts to like describe them, and he asks, are those the ones that were damaged? And when Allison confirms, he says those memories were moments were moments when Apollo was casting verses that nobody knew what they were. And Apollo says, "You pathetic roaches. You think you're going to make the world a better place by lying to the gods, by writing history, and by defiling the great book, the sacred place in which in which we write history. Defile the sacred tasks of the archons and the divas with your powers, and you show the human hubris. You try to correct mistakes that should be punished rightfully, as the gods had intended. Don't you see? Your pathetic history is just massacres, wars, famine, domination by the strongest, and you just let it happen and want to correct it, forgive it? No, your species are evil, without a doubt in my mind, and you should be getting what you have coming for you. All archons agree on this. They didn't have to do very much to push you down the path of evil. They didn't. Humans, even without archons and divas, would have resorted to war, to hurting each other all the time. Every single life that I've had, every single moment that I've lived with Allison, I saw this happening. Allison, they treated you so horrendously. They discriminated against you for things that were so stupid, and you just want to forgive them and just erase their faults, lie to the gods? No. You're just a bunch of rule breakers who inherited way too much from Scorpio. All right.
Allison.
What's
going through your head right now?
Allison is in tears, but she turns to Michael and she says, I'm sorry I didn't trust you. And Apollo just says, so I guess now that my secret is out, you're gonna do what you do with people who get in your way, right? And like he turns to Philip and Chris, and he said, and they turn to Philip and Chris, and they say, what's next?
Allison, do you have a second boiler room? Or I guess we could just use the first, because I think we've proven that your Archon did not actually corrupt your memories.
Allison nods and says, follow me. Apollo, you're going in there. And Apollo says no. And they start to run towards the exits. Not
You see
towards
my post in the
yeah. I know you're ready to like so yeah. Apollo doesn't have a lot in terms of fighting. So what do you do when they start running towards the exits?
I launch myself on him and immediately attempt to grapple and put him in a rear naked chokehold.
Okay. Does that mean you're strangling them?
Yes.
Okay.
Attempting to deny his ability, their ability to either speak or breathe.
Okay.
Not going for lethal.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and roll for brawl, please.
I got to make 2 at -3 on each, right?
I believe so.
Here's the first one.
Oh my god.
You want to take the light side just to spite?
And the second one.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, the okay. So like the last thing, like basically like Apollo starts to like trying to move as if trying to like get your grip off of them, but they don't seem to be as frantic about it as people who are like desperately trying to survive. They seem almost okay with what you're doing to them. But yeah, you're starting to like crush their windpipe, and
Just relax. It'll be over soon.
Michael says, Michael turns to Philip and says, "May I have your sword?"
Philip looks at Allison. Are you okay with that?
Allison doesn't. Allison seems to be too. Yeah, she's quite overwhelmed. Like she looks overwhelmed by the whole situation, but she says, "I'm too close to this. I can't judge them."
I turn back to Michael and I say, what do you plan to do with the sword?
I plan to
This isn't the...
get my revenge and get Allison's revenge.
Is
We
Apollo
can't just
out
take-
at this point?
Apollo is at the point where normal humans should be out. Apollo is still moving.
Okay.
Philip.
Can we just take Apollo to the boiler room?
Roll for persuasion to persuade Michael that this is the best. That this would be best. Against...
If nothing else, you should probably contact the warden and let him know. Because otherwise, you'll still be a wanted man.
Ooh. Michael does not.
Shit.
Michael does not want to be persuaded. Michael rolled a 39 in willpower.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I rolled absolute dog shit.
Yeah. Michael says no. I've waited this long to kill this traitor. This ends tonight. This ends today.
When Apollo does finally go out, I just release him onto the ground at Michael's feet and step back.
Okay. Archons and Divas don't have unconscious lines, so they stay awake until they die, basically.
I gotcha. All right, I'll just hold him there.
Okay, yeah.
I will turn to Michael and say, you've waited a long time, but your betrayal was, well, difficult. Not quite as difficult as Allison's. Perhaps you should ask her what she wishes done with her Archon or her Diva.
It's okay. He says. She says. He says. She mentioned she was too close to this to pass judgment. Addison just like. Yeah, Allison's basically like you've never like seen her overcome with emotion in such a way, and it seems to be hard for her to like talk right now. But she's like observing the situation. You feel like almost like she's more of a bystander than a participant in this.
Do you know what will happen to Allison once you kill Apollo?
She won't be able to cast Verses of Light, but unless she uses the Scorpio Aura, which she still can.
And are you willing to do that to her?
Addison can he asks, can you? I don't know how much you use verses in here, and she says it's not a problem.
I hand him the sword.
Michael takes the sword in his hand, looks at it for a second, and says. And turns to Apollo and says, you could just have talked to us. And
one last question before you do this.
Okay.
You agreed to rewrite Dark Verses to be actions of light. What would you call this, even if it's not a verse? It is still important to think about your actions and the effect they will have.
Roll for persuasion.
Where is persuasion?
Gemini, first column, all the way at the top.
Right.
You
social skill I'm not especially good at.
You just need a 12. Nope. You do not. You do not convince him.
Leadership.
Not
trying to lead him out of a dark path.
Michael says. Maybe Apollo was right. Maybe there's too much darkness in us. And he swings and decapitates Apollo. All right. I think now is a good moment for us to have like a couple of days later moment. If that's fine with everyone.
Sure. I mean, I would like, once we leave and are in someplace safe, I'd like to check up on what happened with my phone call to the police and stuff. But apart from that, I could fine skipping a couple of days.
Yep. So yeah, a couple of days later, you checked on this. The Hermes who were in that building where they were trying to use their usual tricks to try to get the police to cooperate with them, either by mentioning like superiors, calling those superiors who had favors to the Hermes order, or using verses. But because there was a lot of people in the public who were observing the arrest, they didn't manage to do that properly and were all gathered up and sent to a cell. Some of them managed to escape using Sleipnir and other mobility verses, but most are pending trial. A lot of the setting has changed within those past few days since there's been this big revelation that the occult exists, and a lot of factions like the Neo-Hermes have come out of the woodwork and have started just sharing as much information as possible. A lot of the occult factions that were mentioned by Kawa started just like going into hiding. Lots and lots of people have gone missing or taken trips to or quit their jobs after those big revelations. And yeah, Michael has like returned to the Neo-Hermes, and he a couple of days later he mentions he wants to like talk to you about a couple of things. Allison has freed Artemis from her prison, and Artemis is now has been listened to, and she says that she didn't destroy the memories, that Apollo was destroying those memories, and that she was trying to keep at least one of them safe. So yeah, you and you anything else you wanted to do in those 3 days in between? You mentioned you wanted to like take parts of the telescope, of the Gemini telescope, with you, the important parts, so you could retro-engineer it at another location. So you...
Well, yeah, mostly so they couldn't use it without us.
All right. So yeah,
we control its use. Yeah.
So you took you didn't necessarily have to do that, because since this place was mentioned as a place controlled by the Neo-Hermes, the armies come in and like taken possession of the Gemini Observatory, and like the Hermes are like asking to have access to it to keep doing their work. So there's a lot of administrative thing going on. We can say that you kept some of the pieces so far just in case. And
I'd vote for the important, hard to recreate pieces so that we don't have to go through all that trouble when we rebuild our own telescope.
Okay.
And sorry, it was who's asking for permission? The Hermes or the Neo-Hermes?
Oh, the Neo-Hermes, where we're asking for permission to have access to the telescope again, to keep rewriting, basically, from that location. Yep. Kawa has become an online celebrity, thanks to being the one who's like tried to reveal to the world about stuff like this. And yeah, that's about it. So Michael asks if it would be possible for all of you to meet with Allison inside of her memory palace, inside of Philip's memory palace, so that you could all talk.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay. So, and you ensure that you're all in safe locations and that nothing will happen to you. I promise, as the game master. And and you meet up in Allison's Philip's memory palace. Allison looks like very stressed. She seems to have aged from the whole experience, and Artemis is with her. Artemis, who looks like who looks like Apollo but is wearing like dark suits. And Artemis just like doesn't seem to speak much, just to observe. Okay, so you, which of the rooms would Philip would you host this gathering in? What does it look like?
Probably the cluttered bedroom
Okay.
with all the books and papers strewn about, the messy bed. It probably isn't like the most like welcoming looking environment, but it's the place that Philip feels the most sentimental about and wants to have Allison feel safe in a place that he feels safe.
Great. So, Michael says, "All right, thank you all for coming. I have something to tell all of you. We have, even if we revealed to the world the existence of the secret organizations, there's still one group that is inaccessible to the mundane. It's the dead Hermes in their memory palaces, and I hold on one second. I'm trying to think about something. Yeah, and they will keep on controlling Hermes and Neo Hermes, whose memory palaces they have access to, if we don't take care of them, if we don't stop them. And on top of this, a lot of them have memories of actual events of the past that could serve as backups to the verses. So the memory palaces are a threat to our rewriting efforts. That's why we have to do something about this. But most of all, the Hermes I was that had me captured, they said they were under the orders of Orpheus himself, the first Hermes, and I think he's moving to do something big, and I think we need to stop him. On top of this, based on the discussions that they had, it seemed like Orpheus was the person who somehow made it back into the physical world, and he's the one who was personally led the squad that killed Addison and the other members of the group of writers. He was the astronaut who should have died on the in the shuttle that exploded the same day, but he's still leading the Hermes. Wait, hold on. 1 second. Yeah, no, I've said yeah, and it's yeah, and that's the person that we're going up against. So now that we have access to the telescope, we could go into every single galaxy that's visible in the night sky, one after the other, to find them, or we could find the first memory palace that is connected to the first students, and then go down from there. We just need to find out where the first memory palace was. Here's what we know about the structure of the memory palaces. So he starts drawing, and I'm going to be drawing next to the dolphins.
Before you can start, Oliver is going to ask him, what is the we in this? because you were unwilling to give up your revenge in order to stop something that would be considered a dark action. How can we trust that you won't do this again in the future if you come with us?
He looks at you straight in the eye and he says, "You can't, especially since when I find this Orpheus, I'm going to stab him. Just like I'm going to kill him, just like I killed Apollo."
I'm going to look at Chris and Philip and say, what do you think?
I'm not elated over this.
Who are we talking about stabbing now?
Orpheus. He was going to develop a little bit on who this person is in the explanation. He's the leader of the Hermes.
And he was involved in this betrayal somehow?
Yes, he is the one who physically led the group of killers who killed Allison and the first group of rewriters. Once Apollo told them where to find them.
Yeah, I really hate to have to say it, but yeah, I think he's got to go.
Very well. If that is the consensus, I suppose there is a we.
I'm just tired of dealing with these people that you try and give them a chance to give up and you keep looking over your shoulder and they just keep coming back. And I suspect this guy's going to be one of them. So
I think you're right.
He's also the leader of the Ruby table. As far as you know.
So he's one of Crimson's buddies.
He's he's Crimson's boss.
I don't know if Crimson has a boss anymore.
Yeah, he was Crimson's boss. So basically, so Michael starts to draw, and I'm going to make a drawing under the whales, and he says, "All right." So
but meanwhile, Michael, I want something from you.
All right.
I'm told that you excel at finding that which cannot be found.
Yes.
Excellent. I need to talk to Ares.
Ares.
Yeah, I'm not talking about later today, but I want you to find a place on your table, and I want you to put that on your table, and I want you to, get around to it. That's all I'm asking, okay?
So just so that we're clear, you're not talking about the leader of the eight called the Ares. You're talking about the god Ares.
Oh, I'm talking about the guy that thinks he's the god Ares.
Right? I know there's a group of people who followed in Solomon's teachings who claim that they can contact the 12. I can start looking into them and see if their claims are true.
Please, I would appreciate it.
All right. In the meantime, so a memory palace is accessible to anybody who was is accessible to anyone who has taught the person of that memory palace how to create memories. So the first person to have ever created this technique would have taught other people and would have access to their memory palaces. Orpheus spread his discipline to many disciples, who they themselves spread the discipline to many more. And although some might have died, the line kept going, which means that somewhere along the line, which means that all of the memory palaces that exist unless their inhabitants died after they had students inside of their memory palaces, like Alison could die or Stefan could die. All of the memory palaces are accessible from the one at the top, and we have an apparatus that can access any memory palace whose coordinates we know. All we need to do is figure out where this primal memory palace is, go in there, overtake it, and then finish dismantling the Hermes from the inside. And then we won't have there won't be anybody else stopping us from rewriting. Right now, if we take over both of the Gemini observatories, we'll be able to have multiple teams of rewriters working on rewriting at a much more efficient pace than what you've been doing so far. And you've been doing an excellent job, so it will just keep getting better.
Very well, but you will not be leading one of those teams. You will not be leading one of those teams. I'll admit that perhaps Orpheus has to die, but if we do make multiple teams rewriting, you can't run them.
All right. I was never a leader anyways. I always put my faith in Alison to lead those teams.
I mean, you cannot go back into the verses. You can work out here, but even as someone just inside a verse, you could very well end up erasing someone else's hard work with your lust for vengeance.
Michael says, "I understand what you say. I'm not fit to be a rewriter anymore because of the path that I've chosen, and that's fine by me. I'll just train the next generations of security, of members of the security on the teams."
I think that would probably be a good place.
And look for a way to find Ares.
Yes. Chris has been wanting to have a conversation for him for, well, since he learned of his existence. It'll be a popcorn eating conversation, I think.
All right.
Might have to choke him out.
Yeah. So Alison says the problem is we don't have the placement of the galaxies in the sky of the memory palaces is random, so we have no discernible way of knowing which one came first, because the records because old records have been expunged by and or falsified by the Herbies as to the position of stars way back in the past. So we don't know where Orpheus's memory palace is, and I don't know how to find out. And I think that this information would be heavily guarded, especially since there aren't necessarily a lot of people who would have had it in the first place.
I'm betting Galileo might know.
It's a good. Did you kill Galileo? No, you kept him alive, I believe. Right, Philip?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we kept Galileo alive.
Okay, cool. That's good. I want him to show up and confuse you for people who are not the rewriters one last time. So yeah. in the meantime, until we find a way to contact to find this memory palace, we can keep rewriting verses, or do something else. We can try to storm every single memory palace in the sky until we find Orpheus's. It's up to you. And Alison also says, I fear that Apollo might have been right in some ways, because just like Michael, I feel like I've never done before, that I want to get the proper revenge. And now that I know that Orpheus is still alive after what he did to us, I could also not go in the same in verses for the same reasons. And like Artemis just has a smile in the background. So, what do you do?
Well, a main thing is to get our names removed from the wanted list.
I think the Herbies are have an ongoing process of this, especially since like a lot of information is coming up. Your status is currently being revised thanks to the status the neo Hermes have as, like, the people who actually came forward and told the truth about the occult world. So that's being worked on.
Well, unless anybody needs me for anything over the next few days, is that what we're talking about? A few days?
We don't know how long it will take to find a way into Orpheus's memory balance of the location. So, if anybody has a game plan, we can go with that, says Michael. Otherwise, I don't know what you usually do. Rewrite, I guess.
I mean, our most useful would probably be rewriting stuff.
Also,
Well,
all of you knew Eric Douglas quite well, which means that all of you get are going to get a few points, XP points off of Eric's verses. So if that's something that we want to do, I can come up with a pair of verses that you could learn for 8 experience points instead of 12, and specialize in for 4 experience points instead of 6, and we can go rewrite those verses. But that's up to you. Basically, right now, you're the ones who are going to lead the campaign in the direction that it goes for the next couple of sessions. So, Chris, what are you going to do for the next couple of days?
Unless anybody needs me, I'm going to spend some time at that dojo, actually getting to know the people there, practicing working out with them, and fostering a positive relationship in case I do need them in the future.
Okay. I think from the scenario that just ended, I'm going to give everyone 12 experience points. Chris, I could suggest that you start raising your influence to be able to call in more favors, or
Sure.
Yeah,
I thought that influence was influence as a general score, and that when you took something as a domain, that you had a much higher actual relevant influence within that domain because you would pick the domain.
No, it's domains are what you're able to spend your influence on. Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Right. Well, I can safely say I was not expecting that ending.
Yeah. God, for a second I was really afraid it was going to turn out that it was like Allison was betraying us the entire time, and I was like, that's just going to break my heart. Like Simon, this entire game is just like tearing my heart to shreds.
That's exactly what I was going for. I was going for everybody forgetting about Apollo and Michael being like, Allison did it. That's why I was being vague about it too, because Oliver thought it was the Archon. And like that's also something that I was going for. So I'm glad I had like the little twist. But yes, from the very beginning, from the first session, I knew that Apollo was the betrayer, and I had started finding stuff like how important they found rules and how their opinions on the different gods that you could talk to them about to find out more about their opinions were always centered on whether or not that god had followed the rules, enforced them properly, or stuff like this. And I had an entire speech at some point about how Scorpio was Apollo's second least favorite because of that, Virgo being the first, but I never got to mention that. But yeah. Also, like, it's interesting that nobody had points to refute Apollo concerning the whole your species sucks.
Oh, I did. I just didn't bother saying it.
Okay.
I figured it was beside the point at that stage in the conversation.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in engaging in a debate about the validity of human existence.
Pretty fair.
He was also one of those people that no matter what you say, it wasn't going to change his opinion.
That's also true.
So what does it cost for me to raise my influence?
New level times 2. So if you want to raise it to 3, it will cost you 6 experience points. Just like raising karma levels, it's somewhat expensive. But the higher it gets, the more powerful it is. I think the highest value is 24, and that's basically basically makes you a billionaire if you have like wealth and stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to add. Let's see, where's my XP there? So total XP, we're adding 12.
Yes.
And I'm going to spend 6 of that to go up to a 3 in.
Mm-hmm. So it's wealth, network. Yeah. 3 in influence allows you, for example, with the domain art, access to a monument outside of the opening hours. Getting into a club that's members only, for if you have the Gotha. I don't know how that's pronounced, but that's like high society. With medias, it allows you to get a fake press badge.
Gotcha.
Stuff like this. Yeah.
Right.
But like values like 15, for example, higher values like, for example, if you have a 17 in influence and the domain religion, you can choose who the next pope is going to be. You can influence the cardinals at 17 to choose the next pope, for example. So
nice.
That's the examples given by the book. So basically, that like a character who would be like resources only would have a lot of extra personal power, and that's what we were going for with Eric's character. But unfortunately, since he left the game, your team doesn't have a lot of resources. But that's also like, yeah. So
But yeah, and then my time will be spent, like I said, at that dojo working out with them, getting to know them, starting to build a reputation with them.
Yeah, I think Michael is going to come back to you and tell you the following thing. From what he's learned, there's different occult movements who have found ways to synchronize themselves with the different gods by learning as many auras as is possible for one human, which is 6 auras, and then like continuing down this path. He says there's possibly more things available after the auras, but he doesn't know much more than this, and otherwise he is going to keep looking. Maybe there are some verses in which Ares does show up. He knows that Jason the Argonaut had a past life before that, during the millennia of Ares, where he stole Ares' armor. So it might be possible to meet Ares in a verse, but that would be a record of Ares. That wouldn't be meeting the actual item, but that's up to you, basically. Are Jason's verses available, or is it, or are his past lives before Jason available at all, or not? Let me check. I believe that they are not, unfortunately. Like they weren't. There are no official versions of this. Does Ares show up at any other point in the secret history? No, pretty much no. Yeah, is that something you'd be interested in? Rewriting a verse that has Ares in it, so that you can talk with the records of Ares, or something like that?
Yeah, that could work.
Okay. Trinity's folder. Past lives. Jason. Versus. Okay, so it's Jason. Yup. Unfortunately, there's no official verses for his life before that. So you. What was his name? So you would have to learn the verses of his previous life called. Rixos, I believe. Yeah. I think his name was up. Oh no, Heli. Yeah. That's that was his name before he was Jason. I do not know if that's an actual like character from Greece or anything. But yeah, that's. I can come up with verses based on the powers that I know Jason has from stealing the Ares armor. If you want by the next session, and it would cost you a total of 18 experience points to learn that verse, that pair of verses, specialize, and be able to rewrite later down the line. So you would need a couple more. You would need, I believe, 12 more experience points than what you had. So maybe next scenario.
And then we would have to go join the Argonauts for a session.
No. Basically, it would be like it would be Jason's life before he was a member of the Argonauts. It would be a life before he was Jason of the Argonauts, because in his life as Jason, he did not meet Ares. He met him in a life before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a life that is a lot less known. But surprisingly enough, he also meets another Elohim, another one of the gods when he's Jason. Like he has a life of like meeting quite a few of them. Anyways. Okay, so that's it for you. What are Philip and Oliver doing during the next couple of? Do you have any verses that you want to learn or rewrite or stuff like this? Spend your experience points, things like that.
You first.
Let me look at my. I'm thinking. I'm thinking I might throw a little more into persuasion.
Okay.
I'll throw like 2 more into persuasion.
All right, that sounds pretty fair. It would be interesting, I believe, if the next scenario that we did was a rewriting scenario, since we've done like a scenario on stable, like on the ground, like in the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that would mean that one of you would have to be rewriting. I believe, Oliver, you have a pair of verses, some of these pair of verses that you could access, right?
Yes, I believe it is. Yes, it's those ones. The ones that I actually use.
Yeah.
Oliver would like to get Eric's verses, so we could rewrite those. Eric or Oliver does want to get Eric's verses, so we could rewrite those.
Okay. Do you have enough? Do you have that would be let's see, a total of 12 experience points. So exactly what you got at the previous for the previous scenario. You wanna learn those? Okay. Let's design them rather quickly. Theo and Max. Each of you is going to say one thing that was great about Eric, or awful about Eric, or one of his actions that was very good or very bad, and I'll base the verses based on that. I'll try to write one like really quickly. So, which one wants to do the really good thing about Eric and the really bad thing about Eric?
God, it's been a hot minute since I've done anything with our interactions with him, so I'm trying to remember something about the character that would be interesting to pull up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I have an idea. It took him a long time to start trusting you and to take his work in white. So maybe something about a verse that causes paranoia in the person that you're casting it on. That would be a dark verse for sure.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. What did you like about Jonathan's character?
Who, me or
Either one of you.
resourcefulness.
Okay. Or maybe an event that was like that could be a light verse sort of event, or like is there any moments in the campaign that you want to rewrite basically? Since Oliver, since you're taking on this verse, like, what which moments of the campaign would you like to redo?
Oliver getting eaten by a living, and Eric not doing anything.
What?
Oliver getting eaten by a living, and Eric not doing anything.
During the first scenario?
Yeah.
When were you eaten by a living?
Well, like bitten by the crazy murderer.
Yeah.
And bit it in half because it killed me.
Oh yeah, I remember that. But that would also be a dark verse. We've already got a dark verse with the one that causes like fear and paranoia. So, let's see.
Well, that verse.
That could be the moment to illustrate it. His friends needed help, but he didn't trust them. Could be the phrase of the verse or something like that.
As for a light verse, I'm thinking something sneaky wise, but sneaky in order to illuminate something, I guess. Like not sneaky to hide something, but sneaky so that you can. Why don't words work?
Draw
so that you can
draw attention to something other than you.
Yeah, basically. He did a lot of stuff that I remember, where it was like he was planting bugs and he was trying to get information, but it wasn't so that he could do something bad with it. It was so that he could trust us, basically. Or so that he knew he could trust us.
Okay. What sort of like power would you want out of that? We're trying to
I have no idea. I am trying to remember anything about him.
I know Jonathan was playing him, so he was Jonathan tends to always play law enforcement type characters and like with sort of bland backstories, but but like I know he still had like positive aspects. We can I can come up with the rest of the verse, and I can start preparing for the scenario that's of the rewriting if we are if you give me just like a couple of minutes. So, Philip, what do you do during those couple of days?
Honestly, like, the thing that's been on my mind the most has been probably Philip spending a lot of time with Allison.
Okay.
Yeah, just checking in on her and spending time with her in general and making sure that she's doing okay and just being there to listen to her and generally be around her company.
Okay. So yeah, you can tell that the situation has taken its toll on her, and every time that she expresses like this, how like the whole thing is eating it at her, that she trusted Apollo all this time, you will see moments when Artemis is smiling because of that, but Artemis never like says anything. She seems to be more of an observer and stuff like this. And Allison, and it's helping Allison honestly to have like this company, to have this someone to talk to now that Apollo is gone.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're taking care of Allison. I think you also like learn more things about Allison's life and the reasons why she doesn't come on missions with you. I think like I talked to you about that out of character, but I'm gonna mention it for everyone. Basically, like Allison is transgender, and the reason why she couldn't come back in a cloned body like Stefan could is because the bodies are cloned based on your DNA, and she does not and she does not ever want to come back into a body that she's not comfortable with, that is like not transitioned or that doesn't belong to her. So that's why when she is that's why she also doesn't go into verses. Because she'll end up in a body and it can be very paralyzing for her and stuff like this. So you learn a bit more about her life, about those different aspects, and what she's trying to do is she's really just trying to help as many people as she can, and her writing plan is the best solution that she's ever had. But because of Apollo's words, she's starting to doubt that it's the correct path. And she asks you not to tell anybody else, but she has doubts about what the rewriters are doing, what it all stands for in the end. But she is convinced that getting Orpheus is the way to go.
Philip will just console her and promise not to tell anybody, and try and remind her that they're doing it for the greater good, and that even though it does seem to have its weird moments sometimes, he hopes that it doesn't totally rock her too far.
You can see that when you mention the words greater good, she closes up. You remember that specifically Apollo was only able to act and cast verses based on the instructions that they had to do it for the greater good, and that's how they were able to betray the group. God. So that choice of words is perfect.
Big oof.
Yeah, I could hear Oliver being like, "Ooh, there was a bad choice of words."
Yup.
Yeah, totally spaced on that. Whoopsies. But yeah, no, it adds drama. Let's fucking go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Philip will just try his best to console her and remind her that he is there for her, and yeah, all that good friends stuff.
Yeah, okay. You managed to like help her through the difficult moment of her life, and she is spending some time inside of Michael's memory palace now that they've reconnected, to restore the memories of him that she had based on his memories of those same events, and restore those bleeding memories, those bleeding books that have been inside of her memory palace for so long. And yeah, what is Oliver? What are you? Doing?
Yeah. Oliver will, now that this is common knowledge that all this stuff exists, he'll be using his prior knowledge of it to get some more influence with some of his domains. Like calling people up and being like, "So, you want me to teach you how to do some stuff? Well, you'll owe me."
Oh. you're offering people to learn about Neo Hermes stuff and share the knowledge freely among your friends?
He's giving it to certain people he trusts in organizations that he has connections with. Basically, he's increasing his influence by 1.
Okay.
So not a ton, but a little bit of it. And then he'll spend a night learning Eric's verse.
Okay, I've got one because of the fact that he was like on a case trying to find out about the murder caused by Selena Murray. I'm thinking of handing a verse about not giving up that would stop the recipient of the verse from falling unconscious when they bark the unconscious line. So would that be fine with you, Oliver?
I mean, sure. It's a little
redundant with the
copies my
yes, but
others, but it's fine.
But you could cast it on somebody else, right? You don't have a verse that.
Yeah, no, I can't cast it on someone else. Yes, that would actually be very useful.
All right.
Not that anyone else but Oliver has needed it yet. Actually, I guess it would have been good if I cast that on Philip when we were in the van.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you want me to just cast or copy the one from the Never Go Stray one?
It's not about healing. It's just the target doesn't fall unconscious. It doesn't heal. It just stops you from falling unconscious for 1 turn.
Okay. Oh, so you still go unconscious next turn.
Yeah.
Interesting. And any distances and stuff?
All right. So so the distances for both of them are going to be sight. The area of effect is going to be a living person for both of them, and accumulation is going to be a no on both of them, and duration is going to be until dawn for the darkness verse that causes paranoia, and until dusk for the verse that you can cast on somebody else. The first one is going to be called No Trust in His Heart, and the second one is going to be called He Never Gave Up. Okay?
Okay.
If you have, like, if I wasn't clear on any of those, I can repeat it.
No, everything makes sense.
Okay. So, I was thinking maybe we could have this verse be about the case that he never got to close because he went back to Hawaii to finish this case of the murder caused by Selena Murray, and he never found all of the answers because he was killed before he could finish this. But he had started this investigation while Jonathan was still playing the character. Would that be something you'd be interested in playing, or since Selena is already dead, would we rather have a rewriting of a rewriting, for example? Or something of the sort. Oliver, since you are choosing this verse, what because we could do something about the first scenario that we played, or something like this. But I think what would be really interesting would be to like have a very dramatic and impactful moment of the campaign that we can just go back to and experience in a different way.
I think, yeah, it would be interesting to either go back for that or to see what Eric was doing while we were out in Russia and Texas and other times. Basically, just when he wasn't with us.
Yeah.
Either one works for me.
Yeah, Theo and Jeff, would you rather, like, which one would you rather explore? Do you have very dramatic moments of the campaign where your characters made mistakes that you'd want to correct, or do you want to like find out a bit more about the murder mystery? Okay. Only Max is muted. So, is Theo? Are you here?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I got bombarded by a ton of messages that were demanding my attention.
That's okay. That's okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Do you have a moment? Do you have a preference for like the campaign? If we for the next rewriting scenario, if we want to do something that was like a part of the campaign that you want to go back to for when Eric was around, or just find out about the mystery he was solving?
I never met Eric, so
yeah. But if you as a player like saw the past videos and was like, oh, that was an interesting scenario that you might want to go back to. So it's just like basically we're like choosing what the next, we're making up like bits and pieces of the next adventure together real quick before I start that scenario.
yeah, no, I don't have a preference really.
Okay. Theo, same question.
Yeah, I don't have too much of a preference on this. I'm excited to just go where the wind takes us.
All right. Can I make something interesting with the investigation he was doing? Not really. Okay. Oliver, what was your favorite moment in the campaign when Eric was around?
What was he around till up to? It was basically just after we solved the mystery.
No. He stuck around at least until rewriting the first verse, which I believe was Nicholas Flamel, the first verse. He was around at the beginning of that.
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yep.
I wasn't there for barely any of that verse, so I don't know what happened enough to have a good memory. So I guess it's really limited to the murder we were solving, but anything there would be pretty straightforward to fix, I think, since we know exactly who did it.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think okay.
Could be something before we met him too.
No, he didn't have his Archon in he did not have his Archon in his Diva to record his deeds. In fact, that also means that the moments when he was inside of the memories is also out of the question because he didn't have his Diva with him in that moment, so he had nobody to like record that timeline. So I think no, we're going to go with the murder mystery basically that he was investigating. Okay, and you are going to be playing Eric Douglas.
Did he have his Archon ordeal before that?
He did
Probably
not.
drank it after.
No, I believe he already had because it was in the last sessions before he left where I was like wrapping up that mystery, and I was like feeling really bad that basically like I had developed this storyline and there were a couple of characters that I was interested in, and then it was all just okay. I guess I'm just not using that part of the campaign.
Ah, okay.
And now I can.
Yes.
I forgot everything that I had planned. Anyways. Yeah. Okay, so when you are going to be rewriting this, now that the world is changed a little bit, you can take new and different precautions while you leave your bodies behind. So you can feel that there is going to be a convergence in about a week with Eric Douglas's verses. So, how do you prepare for that, Oliver? I think more interesting is Chris. What circumstances would need to happen for you to feel safe leaving your body behind and going into a verse?
Well, I think possibly locked in like a impenetrable vault that only opens from the inside.
I'd like to point out that we were, and they unlocked it.
So therefore, it was not an impenetrable vault only openable from the inside.
I suppose that's a good point.
So, yes. You guys thought that you had established that, but only if I thought that was actually accomplished. Also, a number of armed defenders that would not be easily susceptible to those things.
Okay. So basically, you want to be in the vault that has the Coca-Cola formula, right?
That what?
The Coca-Cola formula.
Sure. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Colonel Sanders' formula.
I mean, we will also have, I guess, probably as many newer Hermes as we want to guard us, along with whatever army is still stationed there.
Okay. So, you learn a couple of things about the other Gemini Observatory because there are two that each cover a different portion of the sky and are hence able to see the entirety of the night sky. The other Gemini Observatory was the place from which the Neo Hermes sent Crimson into Caesar's verse, and so both of these are available to you with security measures, and you could get Neo Hermes to guard you while you're in there, or you could have a place that is not known to be which is not known to be influenced by the Neo Hermes. So do you go with the base from which some Neo Hermes would be able to watch over you thanks to the telescope, or do you go with the place that could be that could have a higher security and discretion?
I think that's a question for Chris because Oliver will basically follow his lead. It seems to be pretty good.
I guess as long as I can verify my level of comfort at its security measures, it would be fine.
Okay.
It's too difficult to tell because, there's the what the description of something is, and then there's the what is it really?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's kind of like the mechanic who tells you he knows how to fix your car, and then apparently he does not.
Yeah.
So only through time and experience do you truly come to trust that he actually can fix your car.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're gonna stay with the Gemini Observatory as your main base, and you wrap up the security, Chris, to what you feel is comfortable. And okay, do you prepare in any other ways in the week prior to going in there?
So just trying to prepare myself, anticipating where I will likely end up, so that I'm not caught unaware.
Yep. So so Oliver is able to tell you that based on what he knows of Eric's life, you're likely to either end up inside of Stefan's body or the Jackal's body. Depending on if the fact that you're an ally of the or the fact that you're jacked is the aspect that chooses the body you're going to get into. Philip is going to end up in Philip's body, very, very likely.
Really?
And Oliver is going to end up inside of Eric's body, and there will be another Oliver there present that I will be playing.
Oh God.
It'll be interesting to see Simon play Oliver. Remember, at that point, he's mildly cowardly and isn't willing to kill anyone.
Yes, I remember that it was before the entire debacle with the Jackal that awakened your darkness.
Man,
Oh yeah,
debacle with the Jackal. That rolls off the tongue real well.
It's a good thing Oliver isn't getting verses, because I feel like it would be definitely a dark verse at this point.
Like, you could always destroy your memory palace so that you create verses when you die.
Yeah, he's kept the memory palace around specifically so he doesn't create a verse.
All right. And you say Michael would be a bad idea to go do any rewritings, huh?
Yeah, Oliver isn't vengeful most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just much more willing to kill now.
All right. So, Theo, how do you prepare? You know you're going to and very, very probably end up in your own body at around the time when you were preparing to go inside of Nicholas Flamel's verse. So you remember what was going on around that time and stuff like this. So for you, like it should be pretty easy to impersonate yourself in that verse.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it, honestly. I feel like it'll go pretty smoothly. The only thing I might do is like go to my memory palace and go through memories of the time to make sure that I am fully aware of like what my character was like at that time, so I don't get too off kilter. But
okay. Yeah. All right. So all of you prepare to the best of your abilities, and the day of the convergence happens. And yeah, you go inside of the I just realized something. There's going to be the Gemini Observatory inside that allows you to go into other places inside of the verse. That's going to be interesting. And yeah, you close the doors behind you. You make sure the security is there. Press all of the switches, and you are transported into the verse. and you find yourselves being gathered all together in the same room, and this is a memory you've already had. This is a moment you've already been in. It's Selena Murray is gathering everybody from the Gemini Observatory to give a speech, and Galileo is going to like give his speech about finding out all of those dirty neo-Hermes that by finding what's his name. By finding whose students were Nicholas Flamel's a known neo-Hermes. And you basically arrive in the scene. You recognize it very easily. Chris, you are in Stefan's body. So you look like an old man. Philip, you are inside of Philip's body.
That
And
old man is going to be hilarious when he punches the crap out of someone.
and Oliver, you find yourself in inside of Philip's body. Inside of Eric's body, Eric. And yeah,
It's my turn with the body.
you arrive in that scene, and everything starts off pretty smoothly. People are talking to each other like the way you remember, and then Oliver turns to you and says, "Okay, are you ready?" And he turns to you, Eric. And he asks, "Are you ready? You feeling okay?"
I'm a little nervous. This is new.
Yeah, but we cannot screw this up. They're going to be watching us, and we have to nail it this time. Okay?
Of course. Yeah.
All right, good. And a couple of Hermes that are around. Yeah, everybody roll for clairvoyance.
Come on, 12.
Oh, you did get a 12.
Nice.
Okay.
I swear I just saw it and I keep losing track.
Virgo, first column towards the top.
Okay, I see now. Thank you for my life.
Okay. Philip, you take the darkness.
Yeah.
So you rake up another debt to the darkness. Then I think. Oh wait, or did you balance back? Cannot remember.
I didn't balance back, but I was balanced, and then
you
got unbalanced again.
Yeah, and then you finish rewriting. Okay. All right. So all of you are going to perceive this. Basically, you see the rows of Hermes that are lined up, that are like scientists that are ready for that speech, and they're a lot of them only have their archons, so they only have darkness karma, and suddenly they start to have light karma, one after the other. And they start to, turn to one another and engage in polite conversation. Some of them have their accents drastically changed. Selena Murray starts to talk with this like old, like very old Scottish accents. That's like very thick. And you see Oliver walking up to everyone and saying, "May I have your attention, please, everyone? Today, today we are putting on a performance of a brand new verse that has just appeared into the night sky. It is the story of a neo-Hermes, a betrayer to our cause called Eric Douglas, who infiltrated our secret society and had to be eliminated recently. We will be reenacting his most important moments for your leisure. Just stand back, observe the performance, and enjoy. And he turns to you and like claps his hands, and you see somebody like like one of the researchers who is not a Hermes, who was evacuated from the building at that moment, like rush in, talk to Oliver, and Oliver just turns to you wide-eyed and says, turns to you, Oliver, and says, "Demetrios, are you Demetrios? What do you do?"
No.
God damn it, I told everyone to wait to go into the verses until the actors were in the right bodies. What is wrong with you people? And we're gonna end it here for today.
God damn it. Simon, don't take this the wrong way, but I hate you sometimes.
And ending on cliffhangers like this, yes, it's my.
Yep. They're always fantastic cliffhangers.
Thank you. Thank you. I work hard on them. But yeah, this is you've just met William Shakespeare.
Ooh, woo.
Interesting.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hi everyone, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to keep up with all of the adventures on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so you can get a notification each time we upload the next episode of this story. And it would be very nice of you to like and share the video to help this channel grow. Have a nice day everyone.